Hey guys, it's JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh here, and today I'm coming at you with an update to my Gren Maju OTK. For this build, I'm actually playing technically Mystic Mine Gren Maju. I think that Mystic Mine definitely has a stigma to it, and it's very well warranted, and I feel like the Gren Maju variant actually adds some interaction and some fun on both sides, at least the side playing it as I play this deck now. So without further ado, here's my Gren Maju OTK Mystic Mine deck. First up for the monsters, of course we're going to play the 3 Gren Maju. He gains 400 attack and defense for each banished card that you have, so he can get pretty beefy. Right off the bat, a single Pot of Desires equals 4,000 attack for this guy. So you can see if an entire deck is based around him, over time you get a lot of banished cards. Next up, we play 3 Eater of Millions. This is a free special summon, and all his purpose is that he can banish cards from your extra deck to further increase that amount of banished cards that you have. I still play the 2 Necroface. I understand that sometimes Necroface is kind of a hot topic issue with Gren Maju decks. The reason I like Necroface is because in this Mystic Mine variant, his normal summon actually comes up potentially, because if you run out of cards, a side thing of Mystic Mine is that sometimes you can deck out your opponent, but because of the strategy the Gren Maju deck kind of gives, you may deck out much quicker. The normal summon is a last resort, but it is something there so that way you can get your cards back, especially the cards you banished off of Pot of Desires, so that way you can further your plays and actually just not deck out. Additionally, Necroface is there because I do play the 1 gold sarcophagus, and if you draw that gold sarcophagus, you can banish the Necroface and banish the top 5 cards of your deck, so that way you can further increase your number of banished cards, and that's the main purpose Necroface has in this deck. Additionally, I like to play 3 Soul Absorption. I understand this also could potentially be a dead card, and it doesn't really add to card advantage at all, but in this Mystic Mine deck where we're kind of just trying to stall your opponent as long as possible until we get enough banished cards to get Gren Maju really powerful, Spell Absorption allows you to boost up your life points to such an extreme degree that your opponent, even if they're left to be able to attack directly, if they get rid of Mystic Mine, you still might not go down to 0 life points, since Soul Absorption just adds so many life points so quickly. Next up, like I said, we play the 1 Gold Sark for the Necroface play. And for draw cards, I have the 1 Contract with Dawn 1000. Both players lose 1,000 life points, and both players get to draw a card. I know it's not the best giving your opponent the chance to draw a card, but I like this in this deck because the 1,000 damage just leads to your opponent being 1 step closer to being OTK'd by your Gren Maju. Additionally, I play 1 Day of Peace. Same issue with this card is we both get to draw a card, both yourself and your opponent, but neither player gets dealt damage, so that also furthers the time spent on this game, so that way you can hopefully banish more cards and draw that Gren Maju next turn. Next up, I play 3 Pot of Duality. Even though it does conflict with Eater of Millions, this is definitely a very good card to play with Gren Maju. As well as Ledger of Ledgermane not only banishes 3 cards to add to Gren Maju's attack stat boost, but it also, you can actually get Ledger of Ledgermane's effect off pretty consistently because Mystic Mine draws out the game so much. So it's basically a +2, you just have to wait a little bit for it. Next up, Pot of Desires. Of course, this guy's definitely good because he increases the attack by a lot for your Gren Maju. And on top of that attack increase, he also lets you draw 2 cards, so that this is just such a perfect card with Gren Maju. In order to prevent back row when you finally do attack for game, I like 3 Hey Trunade. I bumped this up from 2 for my last build. I just like this because personally, I'm afraid of battle traps a little bit, especially who I play against, so that's why I personally play this in the deck. You could obviously side this out or just never run this to begin with and put cards you think are better in this. What I've been talking about this whole time, the 3 Mystic Mine. For those of you who haven't heard or don't know why specifically Mystic Mine is as bad as it is, for people playing against it is if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, your opponent cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack. If you control more monsters than your opponent does, you cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack. And once per turn during the end phase, if both players control the same number of monsters, destroy this card. The point of this deck is to have Mystic Mine on the field and not summon anything until you get that Gren Maju and attack over whatever monster they have on the field. And then that's all there is to it. Because Mystic Mine is kind of a side engine, the only other card I play to directly help with getting out Mystic Mine is the 3 Metaverse. The key with this is the fact that Mystic Mine goes great if your opponent summons a monster and then you use Metaverse, so that way you can bring out that Mystic Mine as kind of a surprise. In a way, this Metaverse makes Mystic Mine a trap card, because you have to have your opponent have a monster on the field in order to get the full effect of Mystic Mine. For just some 1-ofs that definitely help, the 1-Dimensional Fissure, which banishes all monsters that should be sent to the graveyard, and 1 Macrocosmos, which banishes any card that's supposed to be sent to the graveyard. Another side condition is that we play 3 DD Dynamite, just to add more burn to the deck. This is obviously for late game, and with the Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure, and the card I'm about to show you, your opponent does get some banished cards, and this will help just go for game a little more and push for game with that burn damage. Since this is a going second deck by every stretch of the imagination, we play 3 Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched is good because this allows you going second, since you aren't summoning to begin with much, you just go straight to your battle phase once your opponent has a board set up, and then you end your battle phase and use Evenly Matched in order to banish all of your opponent's cards on the field except for one of them face down, and that not only fuels the DD Dynamite but just helps you with advantage and helps prolong the game a little better. So now that you guys have seen my first original Gren Maju deck and that you've seen this Mystic Mine variant, let me know in the comments below what your favorite variant of Gren Maju OTK is, or let me know what other decks you think can run Mystic Mine in a way that's not 1,000,000% like annoying and degenerate. Or a third option is let me know if you want this guy banned. Thank you so much for watching. This is my first time re-uploading a deck profile, like the same kind of deck, except this is obviously with a twist. I'll definitely eventually go back to the decks I've been posting and update them as ban lists go and new cards come out, but that's definitely in the future. But thank you so much. Before I go, I just want to say the extra deck is anything you want, literally any extra deck you want. If you want, have 3 of every, or just have 1 of every card that you might face off against and get some cherries to play in your deck or something like that if you want to make full use of the extra deck. But for the most part, just have fun with it because you're just going to banish it with your Eater of Millions. Thank you so much. This has been JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! See ya!